Before we get started, just wanted to quickly talk through a little bit about Right Side Up. So we're a collective of marketing specialists who have helped more than 1,000 companies hit their growth goals. We have expertise across all marketing facets, including performance, lifecycle, SEO, social analytics, just to name a few. By designing the right strategies and deploying the right talent, from freelancers to fractional leaders to FTEs to custom-built agency teams, we really empower companies of all stages and sizes to help them keep growing. But enough about us. Let's introduce today's speaker. So I'm thrilled to introduce Tom Kleiss, our GM of Amazon and e-commerce marketplaces. Tom, do you want to do a quick intro?
Yeah, thanks, Amanda. Hi, everybody. Like Amanda said, my name is Tom Kleiss. I lead our Amazon and e-commerce business unit here at Right Side Up. I've been doing e-commerce for more than a dozen years and have more than 20 years of experience in the industry of helping brands connect with their consumers through products. I've done everything from turnarounds to helping launch new products categories, and have experience in everything from consumer electronics to groceries to pets to women's swimwear. So I kind of touch it all.
Awesome. Well, I will hand it off to you shortly. Just want to walk through a couple housekeeping items. So please note all participants except the panelists are muted. However, if you have any feedback or any questions, you can put them in the Q&A box. Additionally, an email with the recording will be sent out tomorrow afternoon, so look out for that in your inbox. And with that, before we kind of kick it off and hand it off to Tom, we wanted to throw out a little holiday quiz question. So the question is, during the 2023 holiday season, Amazon's advertising revenues grew by what percentage year over year? And in 1 second, I'm going to launch the question so you can put in your responses. Is it 15%, 22%, 27, or 35? All right, looks like we got some people saying 27%, as well as some saying 35%. We'll give it just a couple more seconds, and then we'll close this out and reveal the answer. All right. So the correct answer actually is 27, and it looks like the majority, about 86%.
Yeah, we got some smart people on today.
Yeah, looks like, and I can quickly share the results. Yeah, so it looks like 86% agreed. And honestly, let me stop sharing that. Yeah, Amazon is actually saying that the 2023 holiday season was one of their most successful. So I'll be curious to see how 2024 pans out.
Yeah, it's great. You know, Amazon, advertising on Amazon is such a big deal. I think I read today that they are now rivaling Google for ad spend, at least in the US, between the two platforms. So I can really understand that 27% increase.
Yeah, makes sense. Cool. All right. Well, at that time, I will hand it off to you, and I'll come back during our Q&A.
Okay. All right, guys, so just want to stop and talk a little bit about all the different things that Right Side Up does. We'll be focusing on the Amazon and e-commerce part on the right side of your page here. But, you know, Right Side Up is a talent collective that helps brands of all sizes grow and scale across the industry. Some of the areas that we focus on with other business units, much like mine, is offline marketing, where we handle everything from podcast to terrestrial radio. We can see with some of our very best brand partners there. Right% specializes in B2B advertising, specifically on LinkedIn and Meta. You've got affiliate marketing, where we help brands really manage their both affiliates and influencers and do a lot of ROI analysis. And finally, yours truly working on Amazon and e-commerce. And so the question is, why do you split those out? So Amazon obviously is the biggest e-commerce market within the US and internationally. But we also help brands in a lot of other areas, everything from Instacart, Walmart, and Kroger. So we don't want to forget those. Amazon is always going to be the largest, or for the near future will be, but want to make sure everybody knows that we help out brands in some of those other areas as well. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about the Right Side Up Amazon and e-commerce team. So I lead a team of industry veterans. Everybody on the team has more than 5 years of experience, based right here in the US, and they know what they're talking about. So whether you're an emerging brand, whether you're a emerging brand or a mature brand, our team of experts can really help you maximize your growth. Oftentimes brands come to us and say, we wish we were growing faster on Amazon. We feel like we're leaving dollars on the table, or ad spend is happening ineffectively. We're not getting the share we want to have. And so from that, our team does everything from audits to end-to-end management of your account. to PPC and DSP advertising to really help you hit your growth goals. And on the bottom there of the screen, you'll see some logos of some of the partners that we work with within the Amazon and e-commerce business unit. Momentous, Kodiak, Rishi Tea, LeBlanca, Diamond Crystal, Cherbundi, and there's a long list more. But those are some of the brands that we really value our partnerships with. Okay, so we are here to talk about the 2024 holiday season and how to prepare your business for it. And so, before we really get into the agenda here and the things we're going to cover off on during this call, I want you to just take a step back if you're a brand owner on Amazon and think really hard about the products you have. And there's really kind of three categories that I consider for products at this time of year. First up, you've got the giftable items, right? If you're selling a beard trimming kit, right? That's meant to be a gift kit that's got, scissors, and it's got a comb, and it's got waxes, and it's got balms and all that stuff. You are highly giftable, right? Your seasonality is very high during this part of the year. And some of these tactics are going to make a bigger difference for you. Another area that we see brands being another category is self-giftable items, right? So these are the items that you might have your eye on throughout the year, and sometimes they're a good deal and you buy them for yourself, right? Sometimes you deserve a little bit of a gift. Sometimes you want to help yourself out a little bit. And so those items have a different trajectory and a different plan for this time of year. And then you've got finally some products that are not really very giftable, right? If you are really into NSF certified creatine powder, right? Probably not going to give or receive as a gift, but if the price is right, you might stock up at the right time of year, right? So when you think of each of those categorizations of products, they're each going to have a different shape of their holiday business. So they're going to have different strategies that are going to work with them within this space. So keep that in mind as we go through some of these, because it's going to apply to all. Now, there are some areas that apply very uniformly across, and stock and shipping is one of those. So when we talk about stock and shipping, what are we talking about? Right, we're talking about being sure that your product is in Amazon's warehouses for them to be able to ship and fulfill to our customers, right? At the most basic level. So as we go through stock and shipping, we're going to review these three areas: big event timing, making smart bets with your stock and shipping, and third is contingency planning, because things do not always go as we plan. All right, so first up, timing is everything. So when we think the Amazon holiday season starts way off in October with October's Prime Big Deal Days. It's a mouthful, but it happens every year. We're not sure of the timing this year. Amazon typically runs it in October. They like to have it be a Tuesday, Wednesday. You've got Columbus Day, Indigenous Peoples Day. You've got Yom Kippur. So you've got some stuff going on in the month that might move things around a bit. Amazon hasn't announced it. My gut says we're looking at the 8th and 9th would be my guess, and if not, the week following the 15th and 16th. But we shall see about that. The reason I bring that up is that if you are a brand on Amazon and you are planning to be in the Prime Big Deal Days, you have about 3 more days to get your stuff moving. Amazon's cutoff, and they've published this, is September the 13th for both 1P vendors and 3P sellers to get your stuff to Amazon warehouses, because if they're not there, there's a chance you don't get to run the promotions that you've planned so much around. And October's Prime Big Deal Days do make a notable impact in a lot of brand sales throughout the year. So 1, get your stuff moving. 2, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, otherwise known as Turkey 5. The cutoff is coming up. So Amazon has not published these dates, but thinking from other years past and thinking about where Thanksgiving lands on the holiday calendar, it's very late this year. It's the 28th, the latest possible date, which also means the holiday selling season is the smallest it can possibly be. Traditionally, FBA or 3P vendors want to get their stuff in no later than the late teens, I would say. That's what I would go for at this point, is get your stuff into Amazon warehouses right around there. And if you're a vendor, I would not push much past Thanksgiving or much past Halloween at all, right? They need time to get products in, because if you think about Amazon's operational structure, right now is the time when inventory is inbound. They stack it to the roof, And once November rolls around, the time is to change. And so when the FCs shift from inbound focus to outbound focus, you're going to have a hard time getting appointments. You're going to have a hard time getting your inventory in if you miss some of those cutoffs. So just be very thoughtful, because timing is especially important this time of year about being able to get things in and out of your fulfillment centers with Amazon. All right, so once these dates are in, let's talk about what we recommend or how to get your business ready for holiday. So again, let's go back to those 3 product categories, right? Self-giftable, really giftable, and not really giftable. In all cases on Amazon, the flywheel is very strong. And in most cases on Amazon, the winner doesn't take all, but the winner takes most. And how that shows up is when you do a search for a product or a category or a thing on Amazon, most people don't scroll down past maybe organic placement 20, 25, maybe. And that's especially true in the holiday season. The holiday season, 1, people are strapped for time. 2, for the items that are giftable, people don't want to be wrong, right? They don't want to be at risk being that bad uncle or bad aunt who gives a gift that is just not that nice or not really what their gift recipient, right? So the risk adversity this time of year increases, which means that the people who have the highest stars and the people who are on the top of the search results get a disproportionately large share of the business this time of year. So as we think about what we're doing this time of year, what bets we're going to make, we have to think about those things. It's because not all of our products are going to be equally successful. Not all of your products are going to be winners. Some are going to be stronger than others, and putting bets on your winners is extremely important because they have these other aspects, right? You can't put all your products in with 1,000 weeks of supply at Amazon, just in case, right? Because you have inbound placement fees, you've got holiday storage fees, you've got limited inbound appointments, you've got caps on how much stuff you can even ship into Amazon. So it's really important to make a bet, right? Choose some of your best items, because no products equal no sales. And the worst thing you can have as a brand on Amazon is have your top product either out of stock or with a long delivery window. And honestly, the long delivery window might be worse, because with the long delivery window, you still serve ads, your product still shows up, but customers click on it and they say, oh, this still says Prime, but I'm going to get it in 2 weeks. Well, I can't have that. It's not going to get here in time for my celebration. And they click back, right? Which hurts your conversion rate, which hurts your relevancy, which hurts your placement on Amazon in the long run. It also costs a lot of money from a PPC standpoint. So be thoughtful, right? Pick a couple winners. So let's move to the right side of the screen here. How do you make your bets, right? Not all ASINs are equal. Pareto principle holds in a lot of the brands that we deal with, right? 80% of the sales are done by 20% of the products. So find those core 20% and go deep, but don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? Don't just have one item that you're going to stack into the warehouse and just ignore everything else, right? You need to have some backup plan there, but at the same time, don't take your number 47 product and put a year's worth of supply in the warehouse. It just doesn't make sense. The other things to think about is consider box sizes and storage limits, right? Amazon's fulfillment centers are only so big, and brands often have limits into what they can ship in. So all things being equal, smaller, higher value items might be a better use of your square footage or your cubic footage than big, bulky, lower profit items. And then finally, here's a new thing with Amazon this year. They have 5 identical shipments to allow you to avoid their inbound placement fees. Now, this is going to you have to do your homework on this one, because those 5 shipments have to be identical, which means the same products, the same configuration, the same numbers of each in there. So this might make sense for you, but it might not. But it is a good way to avoid some of Amazon's fees, especially this time of year. So be thoughtful about that. Be thoughtful as you plan forward about what you want to put in to the Amazon warehouse. But overall, if you don't have the product, nobody can buy it, right? And that's the worst place you want to be. So here, let's talk about a little bit about contingency planning. And what do I mean here is that Murphy's Law says what can go wrong will go wrong. I've been doing this for a long time, and every holiday season, there's at least one curveball that brands get. And sometimes those are item suppressions, or a warehouse didn't receive their inventory, or there's an andon cord that was pulled on one of your products for an invalid reason. And so by not having all your eggs in one basket, you're able to kind of plan around this. You're going to be able to give yourself some anti-fragility here. You're going to give yourself some resilience here. So what ways can you, as a brand owner, prepare for the holiday season, thinking about the contingency plans you might want to have? First up is thinking about fulfilled by merchant capabilities. So if your FBA items don't arrive on time, or they're suppressed, or for whatever reason you're unable to sell that, having the capability to fulfill outside of Amazon is absolutely critical. Now, if you're a high volume brand, this is going to be tough. But if you're a high volume brand, you probably have a third party logistics partner already that you can take FBM orders through and connect them and do the shipping that way. Otherwise, you might be shipping out of your own warehouse till you blue in the face, but at least you're hitting the holiday season. So think about what your plan would be if your top two items go down, right? FBM is a very good option for that as well. Number two, can you instead steer people to your DTC site? Typically, DTC sites get a very small fraction of the overall traffic Amazon gets, and while conversion rate is higher, the traffic just suffers. And so if your listing goes down, can you steer your off-site media to your DTC site to make up those sales until Amazon comes live again? And then third is pivoting, right? If you have ad dollars set aside for your top product and it goes out of stock and it gets pulled down, don't wait. Think about reallocating those dollars to your other products within your portfolio to make sure you're making the most of you can until your product comes back up. So think about, as we go back through this section, right? One, think about the timing. Think about getting stuff into Amazon early, because if you get in late, you might not have a chance in November as they change the inbound and outbound ratios at Amazon. Two, think about making big bets on your top items, but not putting all your eggs in one basket. And three, contingency planning about what happens on Amazon if your product comes down, gets delisted, Amazon doesn't receive the inventory, you name it, right? Have a backup and have a contingency plan. All right, so that's one of our four pillars of what to do to get prepared for holiday. The second one we want to talk about is listing optimization. So we started out with, you got to have the product available for people to buy. And listing optimization is you have to have the ability to people to find your product. And so there's two ways people can land on your product detail page. One is organic ranking, right? The search engine results page, things pop up. Where do you show up on that list? Where do you rank for that specific term? And two is paid ads. And as we get into section 3 below, we'll talk about ads. But here, let's talk about the organic side of this, right? How to get people to your page, and then when they're on your page, to convert to being a buyer. So within this section, we're going to talk about how to modify your organic ranking. We're going to talk about areas within your listing that you can improve your click-through rate, that you can improve your conversion rate, and ways that you can actually mitigate returns by making changes to your listing. And then finally, this time of year, thinking about what you want to do if you're specifically a holiday-focused item for your images and your A+ content, to get the most of it now as opposed to later. So let's start up with organic ranking. So organic ranking is the term we use here in the industry to say when a word goes into the search bar, what order do the items pop up on the search engine results page, right? And if your item pops up the first one that's not an ad, you have the first organic rank. And if you are number 30, you have the 30th organic rank. And your organic rank as a brand will change, and as an item will change over time on a couple factors. Search volume, relevancy are the two big ones. And relevancy is when Amazon tries to determine, so step back for a second. So Amazon's plan as a retailer, as the world's most consumer-centric retailer, is to serve you products that they think you will buy for a profitable rate for them when you put in a search term, right? So if someone puts in a search term for AirPods, they don't want to serve Nike shoes, because they know if they did, they have a low likelihood of someone saying, yes, that's what I was looking for, click and buy. So Amazon has a relevancy measure built into all their placements. And the reason the relevancy measure is important is that the higher conversion rate you have and the likelihood the overall profitability you drive to Amazon drives up your organic ranking. So you want to show up where you're relevant, and you don't really want to show up where you're irrelevant. So how do we figure these things out? There's a lot of tools out there. Some of the more common tools are Data Dive or Helium 10, which should give you a glimpse about your brand and what your organic ranking is. It should also give you a glimpse at, relatively speaking, what the search term volume for each of those terms are. Certain terms have higher volume than others, right? And so it's important to really have a good grasp on that to wait through what their organic ranking is going to be. So once you know your organic ranking, what can you do about it? So organic ranking is measured in a few different ways. We talked about conversion rate before, but also click-through rate makes a difference as well. So you can modify your likelihood to be placed by organic ranking by looking at your title, looking at your bullet points, looking at your backend search terms, and looking at some of the terms that are tagged into your A+ content. And so in those areas, be very thoughtful. Think about what a consumer would call your product. If you have a very specific product that might not be right for everybody, but has some very strong long tail terms, be sure those terms are ranked very highly, or those terms are placed very highly within your product title. Amazon has different weightings for each different part of the page. The front end of the title is weighted very highly. Some of the bullet points not weighted highly at all. But being thoughtful about the words you put in each location is absolutely critical to showing up for the words you want to show up on and hopefully be ranked highly for those words. If your titles and bullets and your backend terms are exactly the way you want them to be and you're still not ranking, we do recommend running some PPC ranking campaigns, which are based on exact match and very few terms, so that when someone searches for a very specific term that you want to rank higher on, and they click and they buy and they end on your page, Amazon will take that as a signal of this item is highly relevant for that specific search term, and over time will increase your ranking on those terms. So finally, consider search volume for popular and also hyper-specific keywords. If you index very highly for a very popular keyword, people click and don't buy, that's going to be a contraindicator for Amazon's algorithm. And which means that you're going to have a harder time placing, and you might actually pay more for PPC bids as that relevancy is figured in there as well. So just be very thoughtful about where you rank. This is the case where understand your battles you want to fight and the battles you don't want to fight. Being highly ranked in a very specific longer tail term that you have a very highly likelihood of conversion is highly valuable. All right, so that's one aspect of getting your listings ready is just being thoughtful about organic ranking, how people are going to get there, and making sure your title and bullets are ready. We talked a little bit on the prior page about click-through rate and conversion rate. So in this case, when we're thinking about gifty items, look through your listings not with an expert's eye, not with somebody in the industry's eye, but look through it with the eyes of your consumer. So the recommendation we give to a lot of brands is test your main image. So the main image is what customers see. They see a few things when they do the search engine result page, right? They see the image, they see your product title, they see your star count, they see your relative sales velocity, and they see your price. Of those things, from a square inch standpoint, the biggest one of all is your main image. So I do recommend brands spend some time this time of year, do A/B testing on your brand, on your main images. Do it now, because if you wait till November to do it and you're wrong, or you're A/B testing and half your consumers see a suboptimal page, you're going to hurt your overall business. So spend some time on that main image, right? If you're able to, if you're a gifty item and you have a gift box and you have multiple things in your gift box, ensure that those things are all shown on your main image. If you want to put text on your main image, there are some unique ways to go about in doing that if you think that's going to help your sales. But index yourself versus your main competitors and see what they're doing and see if you want to follow their pace or do your own. Along with the A/B testing, do some A/B testing on your titles and bullets. Amazon's tools for this they're great. They're easy to use. They help you diagnose what makes sense and what doesn't. So be sure that you're doing that. You should always be running A/B tests on your items week in, week out to be sure that you are doing the right thing and that your pages are fully optimized. Third, this part I think are missed by a lot of people is read your reviews, look at your Q&As, and use that data to populate some of your low weight bullets. And when I say low weight bullets, I mean bullet 4, bullet 5, some of those items that the algorithm doesn't index as highly. They don't weight the words there as most, but if a customer is worried about something, they're going to read through those bullet points to understand it. So if you can answer questions there, as opposed to waiting for someone to have the product or enter a new Q&A, you're going to help yourself in the long run. look at your item through not expert eyes. Have a friend, family member, spouse, have them look at the page and ask them what they see, and you'd be surprised. Sometimes as folks in the industry, we get really deep into these pages and we miss the forest for the trees. So sometimes ask somebody who's a non-expert to look at the pages as well. And then finally, star rankings. The Amazon algorithm likes to round things up, right? So if you have 4.3 stars, you will show up as 4.5 stars on the search engine result page. And if you have 4.2 stars, you'll show up as 4 stars. So think hard about ways that you can get yourself up to a 4.3, obviously in ways that Amazon approves with in terms of service compliant ways. But be real thoughtful, right? Trying to get your reviews up to 4.3, because especially this time of year, as people are more risk averse, they're going to be less likely to buy something that has 4 stars as they are something that has 4.5. Finally, think about the holiday season. Some products are highly giftable. Some products are going to benefit by putting garland and candy canes in their images. So be thoughtful about what kind of brand you are and who your shoppers are going to be. Now is the time to start building that A+ content with that seasonal flair that you can switch over when the time is right. Now is the time to think about, is that main image affected by some holiday treatment? Finally, the other thing to think about as you consider the images in your image stack is we found brands who address some high return rate causes in some of the lower images find a lot of success. So what do I mean by that? So one of the brands we work with sells women's swimwear. And so there's a lot of questions about how does this fit on my body? And so and we're not just talking size charts because those are important as well, but answering examples saying, hey, this fabric is is not particularly stretchy, right? So because they get a lot of returns for that, they're able to show some swaths, they're able to show this fabric on a couple models in the lower bullet points, or sorry, lower images in the carousel, and avoid some of the returns on that side as well. So be thoughtful about the reasons customers return your product and fine tune that carousel to help people answer the questions that they might have about it. And try to prevent returns from coming back, because as we all know, returns are extremely expensive for you and for Amazon. All right, so we've talked a little bit about inventory and stock, and we talked a little bit about optimizing your pages, and now we're going to take a little break.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. So thought we'd take a mid-webinar break and throw out another quiz question out there. You should be seeing it in a few seconds. So what percentage of growth will mobile contribute to this year's holiday season e-commerce sales? Is it 18%, 28%, 38%, or 48%? We'll give a couple of seconds. Looks like we're getting a mix. Some people are saying 28%, some are saying 38%. We're getting a bunch for 48% as well. Not as much for 18%. All right. The correct answer is 28%. So no surprise, consumers are spending an increasing amount of time on their mobile phones. That, combined with the rise of apps and social commerce on channels like TikTok, are really making sure that, m-commerce will remain a lucrative revenue driver for retailers. Back to you, Tom.
Yeah, no, excellent point. Maybe something I forgot to mention about, but look at your images both on a phone and on a desktop. You'd be surprised by the difference that font can make, so the difference that some of the things can make in there. So thank you for that. All right. Number 3 out of our topics today is advertising planning. Advertising is near and dear to my heart. I love Amazon ads. I love the puzzle. I love figuring out the best way to get brands to connect with incremental customers. So we'll talk a little bit about holiday planning for advertising. So in this section, we're going to talk about portfolio and campaign structures. We're going to talk about targeting and bidding, and then we're going to talk about some customizations you can make for Q4. All right, so first up is ad structures. So I am a firm believer that a logical and predictable ad structure is something absolutely every brand that's advertising on Amazon needs, because you want to be able to predict if a customer types in a certain search phrase into the search bar, which of your campaigns will serve against it. And that means just judicious use of negative matching, whether it be phrase match, exact match, being sure that if people are searching for your brand specifically, it's served out of your brand defense portfolio and budget. And if they're searching for your competitors, it's served out of a different budget, because then you're able to identify and fund that incrementality. Brand defense is an absolutely critical part of brands that we work with on Amazon, but you want to minimize your relative spend on brand defense, right? You want to keep your competitors off your page. You want to just make sure that if people are searching for you, your stuff shows up. But at the same time, you realize that those customers are probably going to buy your stuff already, right? So they're very low incrementality. The other side of the coin is non-branded or category terms generally have high incrementality. People are not sure what sort of one-piece swimsuit they're going to buy. So knowing that each of those campaigns behave differently, and each of those campaigns are going to get you a different ACoS, a different ROAS, a different incrementality, unless your campaigns are set up or structured in a way that are able to predictably serve a certain ad from a certain campaign or ad group out of a specific portfolio, it's going to get all jumbled together, right? We do a lot of ad audits, and we see branded and non-branded terms crossing over. We see negative matches not set up the right way, so things are not happening in a predictable, plannable manner. Because when you get to the stage where you're predictable and you're plannable, you're able to say, aha, we're doing really well against this specific competitor. We're getting high ROAS. We're getting almost 100% incrementality. Let's push that one harder. But when all your stuff is all jumbled together and you'd say, oh man, my ROAS is great, and then we realize it's all coming from branded campaigns, it's not hitting the goals you want to have as a business, right? So the foundation for ads is having the foundational structure of the right campaigns, the right words, and the right negatives to know when you're going to show up and when you're not going to show up and which buckets those come on. So if you take nothing away from this this webinar, please take logical ad structures to heart with this. All right, from there, holiday season has a different structure and different pattern of searches. So be careful. If you are a giftable product and you want to serve up in gifts for men, do so. If you're not really gifty and you bid on terms like that, you might have a high click-through rate. People might see it, people might click it, but they may not convert on it, which will kill your ad budget, right? Because your goal is to have someone see a relevant ad, click on it, and purchase it, right? That is the goal of our ad structure. So be careful. There may be times you want to negative list some of these. There may be times where you want gifts for men that you want to be more specific. Gift for men in their 20s, gift for men with beards, right? You may want to be more specific about it than just gifts for men, because those bids and that traffic gets really big really quickly. Other things to watch out for is the holiday season has a very different traffic pattern than normal days in the run of the year, right? There are some businesses that Sunday is their biggest revenue and traffic day, and then it decreases through the week, kind of bottoming out on Friday, and Saturday is pretty good, and then we're back to Sunday again, right? It has a repeatable pattern throughout the week. Holiday season is not like that. And this year, with Thanksgiving coming late in the year on the 28th, we have a compressed holiday season. So be especially mindful, because high traffic days, if you don't have enough budget planned for that day, you might run up by noon. Because all budgets reset at midnight Pacific time. And if you're up by noon Central Time, Eastern Time, you are missing a lot of business those days. So make sure that your budget is shaped toward the holiday season to your high traffic days. And also know that those high traffic days, your competitors are probably going after those days as well. And so your cost per click might go up higher than you want. Now, the beauty of Amazon's system is it is an auction. It is a bid structure. So you will not always spend your entire bid, right? Your cost per click can be lower than your bid number, but on those days with high traffic, they're going to get very close to each other. So be thoughtful about what each click is worth to you, right? So if you're looking at the price of your product times your conversion rate times your kind of your ROAS or your tacos target, right? You can build that in. That's the worth of a click. And so be thoughtful about what you put in for your bid there, because you don't want to be in a position where you have a high bid and your cost per click all of a sudden gets a lot closer to your bid number than you expected to, and you spend more than you expect. And so when we think about what are these high volume days this year, there's a few different spots here. Right? So if you look at last year's traffic patterns, obviously the week of Thanksgiving is going to be the big week, right? Starting all the way on the Monday of Thanksgiving, as Amazon seems to stretch this week out a lot more further. Then we call them Turkey 5, right? Thanksgiving all the way through Cyber Monday. So those are the known facts. Those are the days that are going to be the busiest traffic on Amazon. But looking at last year's traffic patterns, there's a couple of things that pop up that we think we're going to see this year, but it's going to be modified, right? Because of the window between Christmas and Thanksgiving is much shorter this year. So the days I'm expecting to have lots of traffic that you want to be thoughtful about. The first is the Sunday following Cyber Monday. It's the 8th of December. Typically, those Sundays do have a lot of traffic. I think this Sunday specifically is going to have a lot of traffic. So again, plan your budgets around it. The next two, which probably will rival the size, are the 14th and 15th. That's the Saturday and Sunday of that same week. So Saturday the same week, Sunday the next week. The reason those are high volume days is that it's starting to be the end of the season. They're starting to, some products are either going to run out of stock or not get to people in time. So that weekend will be a huge shopping weekend for a lot of people, and a lot of traffic will come through Amazon those days. If you look at last year where Christmas was versus where Thanksgiving was, this maps to a slightly different time, but really, I really think we're going to get a lot of traffic there on the 14th and 15th. And then finally, and this one could be too late, is the 21st. So the 21st is the Saturday, immediately preceding Christmas. For stuff that is still available in Amazon warehouse and that can get to you in time, that will be big. But if your products have any degree of out of stocks, your products have any degree of slow shipping times, I would be very cautious about having much ad budget those days, because you will get the worst, which is when someone sees your product in the ad, it says Prime, they click on it, and then it says 7-day delivery, and they say that's not going to get here in time, and they leave. And then you get charged for the click, you get no conversion, your relevancy goes down. So think about those times and think about your budget as it goes along with those. And finally, choose your battles. In every industry, some competitors are more sophisticated than others. There's going to be times when some of your competitors, maybe they are running out of budget by noon, and you can drop your products on their detail pages, or you can conquest against their brand name, and it'll work. And you'll have some that won't, and your cost to be highly placed on their brand terms will be $9, $10, $12 a click. You've got to determine whether that's worth it. And so choose your battles. You're not going to win every one. Be thoughtful about what you go after and what you don't go after, and read and adjust. But be thoughtful about this, because you're not going to win everything, or you're going to run on a budget before the big holiday season happens. All right. Advertising planning, page 3, seasonal variations in content. One awesome thing that Amazon lets you do, especially in sponsor brand and sponsor brand videos, is you can tailor them very tightly for what you want to show. So you can show your sponsor brand videos around high protein waffles to a different audience than you're showing toward other products like oatmeal cups, for example. You can target them differently to different customer segments. And so be thoughtful about this. So for example, if you are selling an NSF certified creatine powder, and one of your big competitors isn't certified, wouldn't it be great if your sponsor brand video talked about that? Or if your title of your sponsor brand banner on top talks about how you are NSF certified and they aren't? Well, you can be hyper competitive and hyper focused on these. So be thoughtful, build these out in advance, build these out on a per competitor basis so you can go against them in a very thoughtful manner, especially where you have advantages to your competitor from a product, from a rating, from a price standpoint. Use that to your advantage. And another thing that we see brands have the opportunity to do better is a lot of brands have very strong social media advertising, but it exists differently and separately from their Amazon advertising. But wouldn't it be great if you saw on Instagram a certain brand with a certain creative that they're talking about a product and there's certain imagery, and then you go to their Amazon page and you see the same thing? Or you search for their brand on Amazon and you see the same or a similar ad on their sponsored brand video. Aligning those two channels are really important to the customer, because the last thing you want to have is be advertising one product, have customer search, and be shown something completely different, right? Align those back up. And finally, if you are a seasonal product, build your ads thoughtfully around gift giving, right? If you want to show lots of packages, Christmas trees, those sort of things, if that's right for your product, make sure you do it this time. Get them built, get them ready, because there is a delay between creation and being able to serve them. All right, in the home stretch here, promotions or discounts. Here we're going to look at kind of the four big timelines within Amazon structure. We've got the Prime Big Deal Days coming up here in October. We've got the Black Friday, Cyber Monday lead up, which is the time in between those two. We've got Black Friday, Cyber Monday / Turkey X. I called it Turkey 5 in the past, but I call it Turkey X here because Amazon has been stretching both ends of this holiday period. And so what was traditionally Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday is now spreading on both sides. So I put an X there because who knows what it's going to be. And then finally, December last chance. Once you get to December, especially the back part of December, the consumer psychology changes. So be sure that your promotions change along with them, right? So here we'll talk about what works and what doesn't work and make sure we have time for a Q&A. All right, first up, Prime Big Deal Days. What works? What works is when you participate in the official deal. These are the way to get that big red banner on your product. That red banner, people will search up high and low for it. So by participating in the official deals, you make yourself capable of having that red banner. Be thoughtful about some of the pay to play opportunities, whether it be a lightning deal or a best deal. Some of them make sense, some of them do not. So look at your own economics to see if it makes sense to be part of that. But getting that red banner is a big deal. And third one here, keep your powder dry. What this means is don't go nuts in October and short yourself if you're going to be in an inventory situation in November and December. There will be people who see promotions at this time of year and opt not to buy because they think they're going to get better. So keep some dollars set aside, keep your powder dry, because more shoppers are going to show up in November, December than the ones during the Prime Big Deal Days. Things that we've seen brands try that don't work. Don't try to outsmart the system and just say, I don't want to pay Amazon for this. I'm just going to run a coupon instead. Doesn't work. People want to see that red banner because that's how they search. Or deep discounts, right? It's not a coupon, but I saw what my competitor's gonna do and I'm gonna match them. That almost never works. You end up spending a lot of promotional dollars and not getting the lift you hope. And arguably a lot of those consumers are gonna buy your product already at the higher price. So watch out for those things for the Prime Big Deal Days. Next up is the lead up. It's that time after October, but before November. Here's a time when you can use some of Amazon's tools to your benefit. So we love brand tailored promotions. Brand tailored promotions lets sellers specifically target people who look at their pages, who add stuff to cart, or who are loyal to the brand. There's a lot of targeting strategies here. This is the time that you're able to dangle some promotions, you're able to dangle some discounts to your best and most likely to commit customers without showing it to everybody. So really be thoughtful about this time. People might be sitting on the sidelines. Sometimes there is some dependency on the relative price point of an item. If something's more expensive, people take a longer shopping cycle. So be thoughtful about being able to dangle this on some of your better items. Look at your secondary items. We talked about not putting all your eggs in one basket. This might be a good opportunity for you to do some promotions on your number 5, number 6 item. Some that might be more specific. And again, bigger ticket items. People take a long time to shop for these things, but if they see a price that makes sense for them, they may pull the trigger early in the season. What doesn't work on here? Going on tilt after Prime Big Deals Day. What I mean by this is if you missed your forecast there, don't just throw it out the window in this time, right? Save that, run that in November, run that in December. Don't go all out here unless it's an absolute disaster. But we've seen brands do this and then not actually make up for it, where if they would have saved those dollars, doing it later in the season would be a little stronger. And then don't undercut your future promotions. Don't overreact to what happened in October in early November. Because if it's lower now and people see it later, they're going to wait and say, hey, it was 20% off before, now it's only 10% off. They're going to go 20% off again, and they're going to sit on the timelines or sit on the sidelines or buy some of your competitor stuff. Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Turkey 5, 10, 15, whatever you want to call it. These are the biggest days. Bring your best game and your best products. This is where your inventory bets pay off. This is where you're going to serve up your best product to your best customers because they're in market and they're shopping for it. We've also seen brands have success doing all on sale across their brand at a more modest discount. Maybe some of their heavy hitters, they go a little bit deeper discount, but having an all on sale across encourages people to increase their average order value by adding more things to their cart. And then this time of year, we talk about gift giving. Think about the people who are shopping for themselves. Not everything is a gift for somebody else. Sometimes people are sitting on the sidelines. Maybe they have their eye on a specific sweatshirt or swimsuit, and now it's just the right price that they just might buy it for themselves, right? So don't miss out on those shoppers. And then finally, December. This is the last chance. This is the time after Turkey 5, 10, 15, and before the shipping window cuts off. So be flexible. This is where, again, don't go on tilt, but the things that didn't work as expected earlier in the season, now is the time when you're going to want to turn up your promotions if you need to, or pull back on them if you're more successful than in the past, because your goal is to get to January 1st with a reasonable inventory position in Amazon. Shipments will start to arrive on January 1st, but you don't want to burn it all the way to the ground before you get there. So be flexible, read and adjust. If things did better than expected, dial back. If they did worse than expected, dial it up. Another great place for brand tailored promotions, getting your best customers or your most curious customers or your most likely to close customers, unique promotions. And then consider fulfillment timelines. If you're running out in specific FCs, you might not need to run any ads because people are just going to click and not convert, and that's going to hurt your relevancy over time. And finally, don't over discount. There sometimes is a feel of desperation by shoppers this time of year, and sometimes you don't need to drop that far because they're going to buy it anyway, especially if you have a high demand or a strong branded product. All right, I know I moved through these last ones pretty quick, but it's a big season. There's a lot of nuances between the product type that you have and the type of season you have and how you're doing versus forecast. So there's a lot of nuances there, but being ahead of the game is where you want to be.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom, so much. So we have a couple minutes for Q&A. So if you have any pressing questions for Tom, feel free to put them in the Q&A box. One question I'll shoot to you, Tom, right now. Should brands change their PPC ad type mix in Q4?
Yeah, excellent question. Okay, so when we talk about ad type mix, we talk about just in PPC, we talk about sponsored products, sponsored brands, which includes sponsored brand video and sponsored display. Typically, we're of the camp of 70 to 75% of your spend should be in sponsored products. One, it's got the most inventory, right? There's the most spots on the pages, on the product detail page to get. Sponsored brand video should be about 25% and probably 5 to 10 in sponsored display for some retargeting and some remarketing. As we get into the holiday season, sponsored brand video gets a lot more expensive because there is that only one spot, sometimes two, but mostly that one spot on the middle of the page. But sponsored brand video do have some residual impression benefits. So long way of saying, plan to spend more on sponsored brand video. You might have to winnow down your sponsored products a little bit. Think about some of your budgets. Think about some coverage campaigns that have maybe ultra low bids to kind of make up for some of the impressions you might lose by lowering your budget there. But don't sleep on sponsored brand video, but also have a upper limit to what you want to spend on that because it can get out of hand very quickly.
Perfect. And just asked for brands with advertising restrictions outside of price and content sweeps, what should be top of mind in the toolkit to win holiday?
Brands with advertising restrictions outside of price and content inventory sweeps, what should be top of mind in the toolkit? That is a good question. I'd say aligning your on-site and off-site marketing to be the same. So make sure you're giving the consumer a consistent message, no matter where they are in the purchase cycle, so that they're not kind of shocked with a different thing there. If you can't do a lot with price, you can't do a lot with price. But as long as your inventory is good, yeah, this is a tough one. This is a tough one. Advertising is such a core part of Amazon's strategy. So yeah, I'm talking about this up in a circle, but be thoughtful about the ads you go after and make sure the consumer gets a nice view of what they're going after.
Awesome. And here's kind of a funny question, but I hear tacos being talked about a lot. So what is it and why does it matter?
Yes, well, I do love tacos as much as the next person, but tacos in Amazon speak is your ACoS, so your advertising cost of sales divided by your total Amazon sales, right? So what this is the view of is like how much am I spending on Amazon to get my sales results, whether it be through ads or not on ads. Now, depending on who you are as a brand, if you're new, if you're old, you will run into different tacos expectations, right? If you're a brand that you're not particularly strong in your industry, but you want to grow, you might be in the 30+% range. If you're an established brand, you're playing defense, you're doing great, profitability is a big deal, you might be in the 10 and 15 range, right? But tacos is a good way to measure how things are going for you. And it does kind of smooth out some of this stuff with, having an artificially high ROAS or artificially high return on ad spend on like branded stuff, because it's not an incremental sale, right? So you can manage that a little bit with a numerator and a denominator there.
Cool. All right, we have time for one more question that just came in. So would the same strategies and timing work for a brand new brand launching in October? If not, what should be considered instead?
Yeah, it is tough to launch a brand in October. Just because one, it's actually not a big shopping time. People are getting into their fall rhythm with kids at school and things they've got going on, and they're anticipating the holiday season. So, I mean, a good time for Amazon to create a holiday there. So Amazon gives brand new items what's called a honeymoon period, which means there's a time where they get them better organic search placement, just because they're trying to feel out what is this thing, how do customers respond, what are the words that make the most sense to it. So in October, you can take advantage of your honeymoon period there. I wouldn't squander it. It's better to launch in October than it is in November, because in November things are very, very expensive very, very quickly. But I would be careful about October. You may get some contraindicators that, hey, this is doing great because October is not a highly contested month, and then you get to November and your honeymoon period ends, and all of a sudden the claws are out from your competitors and you're in a tough spot. But if you have to be in for holiday, launch in October. Don't launch in November. Don't launch in December. If those are your choices, launch in October, or think about January. If you are not highly giftable, launching in January might actually be better for you. CPCs go down, shopper intent goes up. And again, if you're not gifty, that might make sense.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, if we didn't get to your questions, feel free to still put them in the Q&A, and Tom or another member of our team can answer it after the webinar is over. But to go to our next slide, so we just wanted to make sure you're aware, if you do want to connect with RSU or Tom, you can use the contact information up on the screen. And I did just want to remind everyone, Tom is offering all webinar attendees a free 30-minute strategy session. So feel free to contact him directly if you do want to schedule that. And additionally, the webinar insights doesn't stop here. To piggyback off this topic, we're actually hosting an upcoming webinar on how to leverage affiliates in your Amazon sales strategy to gain a competitive advantage. So you can use that QR code up on your screen to register. Additionally, we'll send a link in our follow-up communications as well. And we always love to kind of get feedback on how the webinar performed. So in a minute, you're going to receive a feedback poll. So if you don't mind just rating us on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the strongest. And we just kind of use these insights to really improve our webinar content moving forward. So thank you.
And please take us up on this opportunity to talk about your business. Everybody's business is different with your stage, your category, what you want to do. And so I just love talking to people about Amazon. So don't hesitate to reach out, and we'll have a good 30-minute talk about what you might want to think about this holiday season. Because certainly I can't hit all different facets here on a webinar.
Perfect. All right, well, that concludes today's webinar. Thank you, Tom, so much for sharing your insights on how to prepare for the holiday season on Amazon. And thank you to each and every one of you for attending. As a reminder, we'll send out a link to the recording tomorrow afternoon. So look out for that in your inbox. But other than that, have a great rest of your day, everyone. Thank you so much.
Let me be the first to wish you happy holidays.
Awesome. Take care, everyone.